Specifically, notice of this meeting has been emailed to the Daily Record and Morris Newsbee on January 5th, 2023, and posted to the Township of Morris website. The agenda and resolutions for the meeting are available on www.morriscwp.com under the Agenda Center. Certain portions of this meeting may be closed to the public for the purpose of personnel and/or other matters, as outlined in the state's Sunshine Law. Notice to members of the governing body and township staff: any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purposes of township business, and any communications are subject to the Open Public Records Act. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Grayzel.
Here.
Ms. Guariglia.
Here.
Mr. Ravitz.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Here. Please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First on our agenda this evening, we have a proclamation recognizing November 11th as Veterans Day. As folks may know, we have a Veterans Day service this Saturday, so we will hold on presenting that proclamation until our presentation Saturday morning, which starts at 10 a.m. at the Municipal Building. Moving on, we will now go into our first public comments period. Seeing no members of the public online or in person, I'm going to ask that we move on to the next agenda item. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll now move on to a presentation by Township Administrator Tim Quinn.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in reference to the best practices inventory that each municipality is required to do each year, submit to DCA, and then also put it for public discussion by the governing body. The final score also is determines whether you'll get your full share of state aid. You have to have a minimum passing score in order to get your state aid, or it can be reduced if you don't meet all of the requirements or you come in with a low score. Morris Township has always in the past done extremely well, and I'm pleased to report that at the end of my presentation, you'll find again we did extremely well. The 2023 inventory assesses each municipality's compliance with various laws and evaluates the implementation of fiscal and operational best practices. Inventory answers provide taxpayers with additional means of evaluating their municipality's performance. The inventory also identifies areas where municipalities may require further technical assistance. And furthering this objective, the inventory obtains an unscored survey section soliciting information on a variety of topics. This year's best practices inventory featured new questions and also repeat questions on the following topics: ethics, personnel, budget, financial administration, capital projects, transparency, procurement, cybersecurity, lead remediation, shared services, special improvement districts, solid waste, recycling, utilities, and the environment. There were a total of 67 questions are distributed among the 3 scoring categories, which are core competencies, best practices, and the unscored survey. Each municipality must receive a minimum score of 29 on the inventory to receive its full final aid payment. Core competencies address statutory and regulatory compliance obligations and other areas critical to sound municipal finance and operations. The 2023 inventory also includes a best practices category, which involves fiscal and operational practices that are significant benefit to many municipalities, but are not foundational in nature of uniformly applicable to all municipalities. There is a total of 48 scored questions, or a total of 42 points. The unscored survey questions are meant to gather information and do not count toward a municipality's final score, although their completion is a required component of the inventory. Answers to these questions will help determine where municipalities may require additional assistance and where the Division of Local Government Services and Department of Community Affairs may need to prioritize technical assistant resources. The unscored surveys questions dealt with the use of our ARP money, Board of Ethics, trash and recycling collection, shared services, and lead-based paint new requirements, which you'll also see with a ordinance for introduction tonight. I am pleased to report that we scored a total of 40.5 out of 42, well above the passing mark of 29. You have a copy of the best practices questionnaire that was previously distributed. We have filed that with DCA as was required to by November 3rd, and we just have to document that it was presented here before the governing body this evening. So with that, if there's any questions on the best practices questionnaire, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
One question. Can you comment on the question about what does your municipality see as the most significant barrier, if any, to implementing shared services?
And if you ask more questions, just try to use one of the mics. I don't know if anyone online can hear, but go ahead.
I think the biggest barrier is making sure that it benefits the municipalities that are involved, and then getting buy-in from the different departments, and then looking at the cost savings to ensure that there are significant cost savings on the shared service. So
It can be challenging.
it can be challenging. We saw that with the LEAP grant previously, that in theory and on paper looked great, and
I
then
know.
trying to implement was a challenge.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Quinn? Okay, hearing none. Anything else on that?
That is it, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Quinn, for that report. Moving on our agenda, next up is our first ordinance and public hearing for adoption, and that's our only one for tonight's meeting. So, Madam Clerk, if you could please read the title of our first ordinance into the record, and we will then open the public hearing.
Ordinance 25-23. Ordinance appropriating $32,000 available in general capital fund balance to provide for the removal of an underground storage tank by the Township of Morris. Note, additional funds required for underground storage tank removal project.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll take comments from in-person attendees first, then switch over to Zoom if necessary. May I please have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance number 25-23?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none in person and none on Zoom, I will ask that we close the public or a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I please have a motion to adopt ordinance number 25-23, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions from the committee or discussion points? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
and Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I am Mark Gyorfy, Mayor. Declare ordinance number 25-23 approved and adopted, and direct the Township Clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. On to ordinances for introduction. We have 4 ordinances tonight on our agenda. Madam Clerk, if you please read the title of the first ordinance into the record.
Ordinance 26-23, an ordinance amending Chapter 88 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2A, Section 88-2A.2, and Schedule 2, handicapped parking spaces. Note, adding location to schedule for enforcement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I please have a motion to introduce ordinance number 26-23?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I have one question.
Sure. Go ahead, Mrs.
What, can you explain where this came from? Why we're doing this? And we're adding 3 handicap spots, right?
Yes, ma'am. We had done the Sussex Avenue sidewalk project, and part of that was Innemere Road, where we also put in a small driveway with 3 handicap parking spots for Cornine Field and the tennis courts. So in order to do the enforcement we have to add these. We have a list, which is the schedule of all the locations of handicap parking.
Okay,
So,
so they're already there. This is not more.
no, this is not, well, we just put
These
them
are
in.
brand new, right?
They're brand new. They were just put in this fall as part of the project. And now this ordinance and the next ordinance deal with this new small drop-off area off of Indian Road, which includes the 3 handicap parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tim?
Yes, sir.
Mayor?
Mr. Grayzel.
Thank you. So in addition to the handicap parking spaces, are there any other parking spaces there or just the handicap parking spaces?
Just the handicap parking
And it's
spaces.
supposed to be used as a drive-through
It's a-
drop-off
it's a-
area.
Correct. As you go through it, it's no parking, and then across at the bend in the horseshoe is a drop-off pickup area.
Mhm. And is the no parking the next one?
Yes.
Okay.
So
So
as
the
you
no parking related to this
Right,
project
so-
is the next one.
right. So
Okay,
the
okay.
handicap park are some what you would call like the infield
Mhm.
is where they are. So as you come in that section of the horseshoe are the 3 handicap parking spaces. It's a one-way in and goes around.
Is there additional access for our utility vehicles for the Parks and Rec to get up there?
No,
No.
that comes for Cornine Field. That's off Sussex Avenue.
Comes off of Sussex.
Yes. This is just for the area there where the storage shed, concessionaire stand is, and being able to drop off and pick up. So they're not doing it on Endermere Road. So this was a safety project that was done.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Griglia,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 26-23 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the second ordinance into the record for us.
Ordinance 27-23, an ordinance amending Chapter 88 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Section 88-4.1, and Schedule 9, no parking, certain areas of municipal parking lots and driveways. Note, adding location to schedule for enforcement.
May I please have a motion to introduce ordinance 27-23?
So moved.
Second.
Any question or discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Griglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 27-23 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, please read our next ordinance into the record.
Ordinance 28-23, ordinance of the Township of Morris, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 95, Article 9, off-street parking and loading. Note, commercial retail parking spots to be 9 by 18 with hairpin striping.
May I please have a motion to introduce ordinance number 28-23?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? Yes. Deputy Mayor Wilson.
I would just like to say that I'm very glad to see us doing this. This was a recommendation that came out of the, I believe, 2017 Master Plan Review. We kind of went around and around about it for a few years, and now we're back to making the original recommendation and pushing it forward. I'm glad to see that.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none.
Yeah, sorry, one question.
Mr. Grayzel.
Just for clarification. So, reading through it. So is the space a minimum of 16 inches? Okay, got it, 18 teeth. Okay, no, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Ms. Griglia,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes, the public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 28-23 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, please read our last ordinance into the record for us.
Ordinance 29-23, an ordinance of the Township of Morris, Morris County, for lead-based paint hazard inspection requirements for rental dwellings. Note, new requirements per state legislation for lead remediation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I please have a motion to introduce ordinance 29-23?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes, the public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 29-23 will be held at the regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. We have 9 resolutions on tonight's agenda. May I please have a motion to approve resolution numbers 246-23 through 254-23 by one motion?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Moving on to our consent calendar for the evening, we have 2 items on this evening's calendar. May I please have a motion to approve the items as listed on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of monthly reports. This evening, we have received reports for September 2023 from the police and fire departments, as well as the Joint Municipal Library. We also have received October reports from the Tax Department and the Joint Court. May I please have a motion to approve these monthly reports?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Claims for payment. Our list of bills and vouchers for the month. Our total amount for this meeting is $13,036,841.82. As a reminder, we are also the tax collector for the school district, the library, and the county of Morris. May I please have a motion to approve this list of bills and vouchers?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. We now have standing committee reports and commentary by the Township Committee, and I will now turn it over to Committeewoman Donna Guariglia.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really have any updates because it was just about 2.5 weeks ago. So on the standing committees, we really haven't been together since then. I do want to congratulate Deputy Mayor Bud Ravitz and Siva Janata, who's here in the audience, on the election last night, and also thank Paul Johnson and Dr. Paul Safier for running. With Veterans Day coming up, I also just want to mention how it's very heartwarming when you pull in now and you see the hometown banners, and thank you to Mayor Gyorfy and the American Legion, Post 59, and the Daughters of American Revolution for getting that done. I also, 2 things that are just to thank our veterans before Saturday for their service and hope that they feel our appreciation for all the freedoms we have due to all the sacrifices they made. So I'm also going to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. I know it's a little bit early, and I'm yielding the rest of my time to the video that we're now going to see. This is from the bike rodeo. And just want to again thank the Health Department, the Morris Township Police, the TAC volunteers, and especially Committeeman Jeff Grayzel for leading the way through the obstacle course.
Thank you, Committeewoman Guariglia. Committeeman Grayzel,
Thank you very much.
can you talking to the mic too?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm doing this Bud Ravitz style off of my off of my electronic device instead of printing paper. Okay, for standing committee reports, for engineering, I would like to report that the Walnut Street reconstruction work has started. It's ongoing and the curbing is up. That also the survey work on Westminster and Overlook roads are ongoing. Road construction is going to be completed in 2024 on that project, and funding is already in place for those two roads. For sewer, the important clarifier project taking place at the Woodland Sewer Treatment Plant is proceeding on schedule. The clarifier was actually delivered this week and will now be installed. There's also an internal recycle system upgrade that is nearing completion at Woodland. That was the precursor to the clarifier project, where we're replacing a lot of the piping internally to Woodland, and just it's infrastructure work that I think goes below the radar because it's not visible to people, but we are investing a lot of money in the sewer plants to keep them both up to speed, and residents don't see that on a daily basis, but we are investing in that aspect of our community as well. In terms of police, you saw on the agenda tonight that we are replacing the underground storage tank that's being removed, and a new above ground fuel storage tank will be replacing it. Mr. Quinn we were talking earlier, Mr. Quinn told me that one of the reasons we're doing this is because underground storage tanks now have very, very high insurance rates. And this project is actually going to save us money in the long term by putting it above ground, correct?
The current rates, because of the age of the tanker, were well over $50,000. That was the urge to get this done before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So that's on schedule. For my general commentary, it has now been 1 month since the state of Israel was brutally attacked by Hamas terrorists. Many thousands of people have now been killed in this conflict, and incredibly, there are still an estimated 240 hostages being held in captivity in Gaza for 31 days now, including children, elderly, and the infirm. I bring this up not because I want to talk about world politics here in Morris Township, but rather because there are many people here in our community who are, and across the state of New Jersey, who are hurting because they have loved ones that are affected by the conflict. I urge residents of the Morris Township community to show compassion for their fellow residents that are being affected by this conflict. Again, I'm thankful for the solidarity that this governing body showed last month by passing the resolution in support of Israel. And during the presentation, it was noted that we have several members of our Morris Township community that have been called up by the Israeli army, also known as the Israel Defense Forces. 2 of these men grew up in our community, Ezzy Morgenstern and Yitz Perret. Additionally, we've had many students that have passed through the Rabbinical College here in Morris Township who have now also been called up to the Israeli army. So I want to wish all of those soldiers safety and well-being as they perform their duties, and I pray that they come home safe to their families. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Ravitz on winning re-election, and to Mr. Janata for winning the seat being vacated by Ms. Wilson, for which I am still very sad about, that you're going to be leaving us. But we'll talk more about that next
I'll
month.
be out here.
Yeah. Oh, you're not leaving. You're just going to the other side of the dais. Okay. I'm glad we're clear about that. I too want to thank Mr. Johnson and Mr. Sapphire for running. Democracy only works when there are choices for voters, and I thank the 2 of them for providing our residents a choice in this election. I noted in a related local election that Morristown passed a partial ban of leaf blowers. This was actually a referendum approved by the voters, and I think that this is something that our governing body should explore in the coming year ourselves. Lastly, I'd like to thank Mayor Gyorfy for his great work in organizing the Hometown Heroes banner program. We'll look forward to the dedication of those this Saturday at the Veterans Ceremony. But kudos to you for doing that and acknowledging our residents. Thank you very much. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Grayzel. Deputy Mayor for Public Outreach, Kathy Wilson.
Thank you. So I have very brief comments tonight. I just wanted to congratulate the winners of our election, Mr. Ravitz and Mr. Janata. And also, like my other colleagues, to extend congratulations, to extend gratitude to Mr. Johnson and Mr. Safier for running. It's very hard to run for public office, and it is public service. It's a service to our community, and it's a service to our democracy. So we do need choice, and I thank all of the candidates, and a special congratulations to Mr. Ravitz and Mr. Janata. And then I also just wanted to encourage everyone to join us for Veterans Day this Saturday. It's a very meaningful occasion. I look forward to looking at the banners a little more closely. I haven't had a chance to look at them closely yet, but thank you so much for moving that forward. It's a really, important initiative, and I'm glad to see it. So thank you. So that's all I've got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Deputy Mayor Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for your participation in our local community government. National politics may get all the spotlight, but typically it's what we do here locally that has the biggest economic and quality of life impact on our lives. If you haven't already, please do sign up for the Municipal Messenger to receive all the latest information and announcements regarding the township. Not much in terms of committee reports, just Parks and Rec. On Sunday, December 10th, there's a bus trip to New York City with stops at Bryant Park to eat and shop. Then it's on to Fifth Avenue to see the holiday store window displays, and then to see the tree at Rockefeller Center. Cost is $35 per person, and the bus leaves the municipal building at 2:30 and returns sometime around 9. Also, our holiday lights contest is picking up again, so please do, if you want to participate in the holiday lights competition, please do sign up at the township website. And now I'm going to have the shortest commentary in the history, my history here, of 3 years.
I'll start the stopwatch now.
Regarding the election yesterday, thank you to all the voters who came out in this off year to participate in our democracy. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. It requires nurturing and vigilance to keep it healthy and strong. And to that regard, I applaud Mr. Johnson and Mr. Safier, Dr. Safier, for stepping up and putting themselves out there for public scrutiny to run. It does take a lot to do that. Thank you to all the people who have had the confidence in my work and voted to continue to have me represent the interests of all the residents and to be part of Morris Township's future. Unofficial results do show me and my running mate, Siva Janata, as the winners. I look forward to my second term on your governing body and again commit to serving the interests and needs of all the residents. And as always, I'll end my commentary with, let's not marginalize or demonize the people who have less economic or political power that some of us might now enjoy. Rather, let's face up and stand up to those people who continue to profit from our division. Equal rights for all citizens doesn't diminish the rights of any other citizen. We have more in common than should ever divide us, which we will rediscover by talking to each other. Amplifying misinformation, hateful or violent rhetoric is not part of any civil society. Lastly, let's remember that as we go about our business each day, to just be kind to ourselves and kind to others. And I want to wish everybody a wonderful, joyous, and safe Thanksgiving holiday. Let's all be thankful for the little things in our lives that all together makes life so meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravitz. For my committee reports, I'll start with the Cannabis Advisory Board, which I had the pleasure of sitting on with Deputy Mayor Ravitz this year. And just to give, again, some more background, just to clarify the purpose of this board for our residents. We have put a lot of information out on our municipal messenger and on our website, including frequently asked questions. But just as a reminder, back in 2021, the Township Committee opted out of the sale, cultivation, and distributions licensing of cannabis after the state referendum vote. Again, the rationale behind the Township Committee's actions in 2021 was to provide ourselves with as much flexibility as possible, with the intention of reevaluating the industry down the road. So 2 years later, here we are, reevaluating with the creation of this ad hoc advisory board. The advisory board met a total of 6 times and was made up of a mix of our professionals, Mr. Ravitz and myself, and 5 volunteer members within the community, and they all did a tremendous job. We listened to testimony from our police chief, from our attorneys, our planning professionals, our zoning officials. We also heard testimony from industry experts and industry leaders in the space, as well as some applicants from towns nearby and applicants from towns in different counties. And essentially what we've been doing was doing a lot of homework and doing our due diligence to provide a recommendation to our governing body as to whether Morris Township should remain opted out of cannabis in the future, or we should consider certain licenses. So the last meeting we had November 1st was a public comment session, along with a discussion amongst the committee as how we should structure our report. We heard from a total of 22 members of the public at that meeting, and we are now intending to put together all of our thoughts and come up with a report with the committee for the committee to look at by the end of the year. There are no votes on this committee. We'll just have recommendations, and our members will decide if they want to sign on to certain ones or not. And if they have dissenting opinions, they are certainly welcome to do so for the benefit of this whole governing body. So as of now, nothing has changed. It's been an ad hoc committee. It had no powers to change policies or ordinances. It was just there to do homework for our residents so our governing body can make as informed a decision as possible on this topic. So I will be doing my work in the next few weeks, typing up the preliminary report, socializing it with Mr. Ravitz, our professionals, and the members of the board, and hopefully producing a well-rounded report by the end of the year for the governing body to look at next year. For my other committee reports, for Parks and Rec, to tack on to what Mr. Ravitz has reported already, Mr. Quinn has confirmed that our conversations with the Department of Housing and Urban Development continue for our funding to be released from the federal government to move forward with the Collinsville project. We still anticipate going to bid in January, fingers crossed, to hire a contractor and get working on that project. I also wanted to note something that we've talked about in previous meetings, but to confirm to our residents that the township did acquire 4 Old Turnpike Road for the purposes of Parks and Recreation office space. That is the old Cozy Cupboard building. And it's a really exciting opportunity for the township and is going to be a cost saver for us down the road because we will no longer have to have plans to expand the municipal building for office space. We'll be able to relocate some staff here now that the Parks and Rec department will eventually be going there. And it's a convenient location for our residents to go to get their pool passes or put in their permits or registration forms for our recreational program. So we're really delighted about that. I think the residents will be happy too, because this means it's going to be for a quiet purpose. That's not going to bother be a nuisance on the weekends or anything like that. It'll keep the cohesivity of that street intact. Lastly, as discussed, this Saturday is Veterans Day, and I just wanted to say it's been a privilege partnering with the American Legion Post 59, as well as the Daughters of the American Revolution Morristown chapter, to make our Hometown Heroes program a reality. In our inaugural round of applications, we received 44 applications and had 44 banners printed for honoring township banners that have now been displayed at the municipal building and around the municipal building on Dwyer Lane and on Fanick Road. And they're really cool if you haven't seen them, by the way. There's one from World War I where the veterans like on a horse or a donkey or something like that. It's really cool. But this has been a long time coming. I know Mayor Wilson and Mayor Grayzel have tried to put this in the works before. So I'm glad it all culminated and came together. It's a great thing for our residents. So we're really looking forward to dedicating the banners at our Veterans Day service this Saturday at 10 a.m. And I have to absolutely thank Annalise Rush in the administrator's office for doing all the behind the scenes work on this. Annalise was such a tremendous help getting the applications sorted, collecting the checks for the American Legion making sure residents filled out the forms properly, making sure the checks cleared. She did such tremendous work behind the scenes. So I just want to thank her for all that work. It couldn't have happened without her. And then lastly, I just want to congratulate Mr. Ravitz on your reelection. Congratulate Siva Janata. We're looking forward to having you up on the dais with us. And thank Paul Johnson and Paul Sapphire as well. So with that, that's the end of my comments. So I will ask if we want to open our second and final
Can I ask you
public
one
comment period.
question?
Sure.
To confirm, all of the cannabis meetings are on our website, right?
All the meetings are there, with the exception. So all the recordings are up there. All the agendas are up there. One meeting had a technical issue, so that one meeting is not posted. We have video, but no audio, so we did not post that one. But if anyone needs minutes or notes from the clerk, we can.
And that gentleman's presentation is up there.
Okay, and the presentation from that night's on.
Okay.
We have slides too. All the slides are up there. We have, I think, news articles too shared from within the board.
Yes.
And the final report is going to have all the public comments summarized. We're going to have letters submitted to us in the report in the appendix. It's going to be a long report, and you'll have access to all the
A lot of work.
recordings. Yes.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Grayzel.
do you know how the public could navigate to that from our homepage? Where do you go?
The easiest thing to do would be at our homepage to go to the search bar and type in Cannabis Advisory Board.
Okay.
So yeah, that's and it'll come right out.
Government? Is it under government? And it's under boards? Okay.
It's easy to find.
Yeah. But all that's available. We put out frequently asked questions as well to clarify what the board was doing. And we'll have more FAQs in our report as well. We have some really great volunteer members who've been helping us out. And obviously our professionals have been helping us out throughout the process too to provide information. All right. So with that, do I have a motion to open our second public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. So we currently have 2 members of the public joining us online, and we have 2 members of the public here in person. We'll now open this meeting to the second public portion. We'll take comments from in-person attendees first, then switch over to Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please virtually raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to speak. When you come to the podium or speak into the mic, please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. Mr. Janata.
Yes, Siva Janata, 77 Hillcrest Avenue. And first of all, thank you for congratulating me for winning. And I thank my running mate, Deputy Mayor Bud Ravitz, for being an inspiration for me to run. And I also thank Committee Woman Kathy Wilson. Unfortunately, I'm replacing you, but because but
It's all right, we'll switch places.
But it was a good long campaign. I mean, you don't realize how long it is until you're doing it yourself. But thanks, and I also wish to thank Mr. Johnson, Dr. Sapphire for running, because again, as you've stated, you do have a choice. I just want to also state a little bit of personal family history. 60 years ago this year, my father came to this country. 51 years ago, my family moved to the Township. And 40 years ago, I became a U.S. citizen. So this is a very big moment for me and the family. And I'm thankful for that. And as those who know me know my love for history.
Yeah.
Now you know I also like to make history. So thank you again, and I look forward for the next year. Thanks.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Mr. Janata. Any members of the public on Zoom wishing to speak, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. With that, all we have left is adjournment. The time is now 7:42 p.m. May I please have a motion to adjourn our regular session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next regular Township Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m., both in person and via Zoom. Our closed session will begin at 5:30 p.m. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a great night.